This art project was inspired by the chemical reaction between lead-2 nitrate and potassium iodide. I began by using a mirror that I often use in my classroom when I teach my optics units. It is a plain mirror, and I started by painting it with DIY paint the color Queen Bee. I used multiple colors as a base in addition to Queen Bee. I used Liquid Sunshine and Fire Starter, making sure to brush them in a pattern that gave it a lot of texture similar to the precipitant lead-2 iodide found in the bottom of my beaker. After my first layer of paint had dried, I misted the mirror and blended the paint gradually. After the paint had dried, I sealed it with DIY wax in preparation for the next step. I prepared a mixture of 50% glue and 50% water, mixed it thoroughly, and poured it in 2 areas on the mirror. This was done to resemble the 2 solutions in my chemical reaction of lead-2 nitrate and potassium iodide. As the glue flowed down the surface of the mirror, I tilted the mirror to either side to create the illusion of the solutions falling into the beaker. On the area of the mirror where the glue pores met, I took DIY paint colors, Queen Bee, and Liquid Sunshine and used a toothpick to gently swirl them into the glue area. This was done to simulate the chemicals combining to form lead-2 iodide.
So over 12 hours later, the glue is still not dry. This is why your kindergarten teacher told you not to use too much glue. Good thing I didn't film this live. This is take 2 of this. I'm attempting to do a ring paint pour here. So what I want this to look like ultimately when it's done is the surface of water. So I want to do a ring pour. Honestly, ring pours are not my strongest paint technique. So after my first one did not go as well, I watched a couple of videos, and I will post the links to those below of some individuals that I found to be very helpful. And we're going to try this again. And I did keep some of the structure here, hoping that it would be used as a boundary to keep my paint from sliding all over the place. So I have already leveled this, and I have moved this to a location that I can reach easier and manipulate easier, because this mirror is a little heavy. So one of the things that I have found helpful just doing these over the years is I like to pour in my base color first, which in this case I'm doing white. I want to use a lot of white as a light, and then I like to pour it out back into my cup again, and this just makes the paint flow a little easier, I've found. So what I did off camera here was, after my paint pour dried, or in the process while it was drying, is I removed some of the excess here. I didn't want my paint pour to be this high. Remember, what I'm trying to get it to look like is the surface of my lead-2 nitrate and my potassium iodide here. And so after I pulled that back, and while the paint was drying here, I continued to shift it so I would end up with just some rippling effect here, just to give it some different textures. I also, while it was almost dry here, I put a cloth and kind of gently lifted it up, because what I'm going for in this area is kind of a natural look of where the chemicals have actually hit the surface and they've splashed back up, and this is the color change and the precipitant that you are seeing before it has settled into solution, of course. So hopefully the last part is I'm going to pour some additional glue to mimic my two chemicals here to overlap this area. I was hoping to be able to keep some of the original glue that I kept here to have more of a layering effect. So it might be more than one glue pour I'm doing here. Quite dry from my second layer, but I like this layering look, so I'm going to pour another layer in this area here. Okay, so my glue has dried from the pours I did last time, and actually I came back and did a couple more of those pours so you can see the different layers. Again, I'm trying to mimic those solutions. What I don't like is here, I knew the glue was going to be translucent, but I want to give this a little bit more shading. So I made up a more viscous solution or mixture actually, of the glue, and then I added some queen bee and some liquid sunshine to this. So I am going to just kind of mimic pour this over here. This should lighten up some, but this is a little dark. So I'm going to go and add a little bit more liquid sunshine, just as some highlights here. So this area turned out a little bit darker than I thought it would. So what I'm doing is I'm going to do another glue pour in the liquid sunshine over this, and then I'm going to do the same thing with the queen bee. Alright, final step. I am just going to do a straight glue pour on this just to give it one more dimension here, and we are going to call this piece done. So here it is, the completed piece, and it was a nice experiment. I appreciate the physics behind mirrors. So I liked how the layering of the glue, how you could see the dimension here. And I liked how my paint pour came out here. This is definitely not a piece I would sell, but it was nice for experimental purposes.